Welcome in, everyone. Ready to dig into something interesting.
Always. What are we unearthing today?
Today, we're diving deep into the world of potatoes.
Potatoes. That sounds deceptively simple.
Right, but trust me, we're not talking about basic backyard gardening here.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the twist?
We're focusing on maximizing potato yield, and specifically in India.
Now that's fascinating. India, a potato powerhouse, but their yields can be so different from place to place.
Exactly, which tells us there's huge room for improvement. And that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. We're going to unpack some serious strategies, get into the nitty-gritty of boosting those spuds.
I'm all ears. What's our guide for this deep dive?
A recent article caught my eye. Maximizing potato yield. Boosting production per acre and hectare in India. It's full of practical advice, the kind of stuff that can actually make a difference in the field.
Acre and hectare. You've already highlighted the first challenge, haven't you? Two different systems, like speaking both the local dialect and the global language of agriculture.
Exactly. A farmer in Punjab might think in acres, but compare their harvest to, say, someone in France, suddenly it's all about yield per hectare.
A tale of two measurements. So, what's the average yield looking like in India these days?
Well, the article mentions around 8-10 tons per acre, which roughly translates to 20-25 per hectare.
Okay, decent numbers, but
But those are just averages, right?
right. And averages can hide a lot. Imagine you've got a farmer in Gujarat barely scraping by with 6 tons an acre. Meanwhile, someone up in Punjab with the right know-how, the perfect conditions, they might be hitting double that.
Huge difference. Makes you realize it's less about some magic number and more about understanding what's possible.
Couldn't agree more, and that's where these strategies come in. And honestly, it all starts with the basics. Soil. You can't just stick a potato in the ground and hope for the best.
It's about giving those spuds the royal treatment. And step one, according to the article, is regular soil testing.
Which you'd think would be a given, right?
Right. Isn't that like Farming 101?
You'd think so. But the reality is, it's often overlooked, especially by farmers who've worked the same land for generations. They think they know their soil inside and out. But soil changes over time, just like anything else. Regular testing is like a checkup. It reveals those hidden deficiencies that could be holding back their yield.
It's like going to the doctor better to catch those issues early.
Exactly. And speaking of catching things early, one critical aspect of soil health is pH. The article mentions a magic number for potatoes, 5.8 to 6.5.
Okay, now I'm curious, why that specific range? What happens if it's off?
Let me paint you a picture. I once worked with a farmer in Uttar Pradesh who was baffled by his low potato yields. Doing everything right, he thought, adding tons of fertilizer.
But the potatoes just weren't cooperating.
Exactly. We tested his soil and his pH was way off, close to 7. Turns out, even with all the right nutrients in the soil, the imbalanced pH was locking them away, making them inaccessible to the plants.
So it was like having a pantry full of food but no way to actually eat it.
Perfect analogy. We helped him adjust the pH, and his yields skyrocketed.
Okay, so soil pH crucial. But it's not just about the dirt, right?
Definitely not. You wouldn't plant a wilted old onion and expect a bumper crop, would you?
Point taken.
Same goes for potatoes. Seed selection is key. The article stresses using certified disease-free seed potatoes.
Again, seems obvious, but
But you'd be surprised, especially in remote areas where access to certified seed is limited.
farmers might think, hey, my grandfather used seeds from last year's harvest, worked fine. But it's a different ballgame now, right? We're talking maximizing yield.
Exactly. Those disease-free seeds, they're an investment. And it goes beyond just disease resistance. Choosing the right potato variety for your climate is crucial. What thrives in the Himalayas might wither in the plains of Andhra Pradesh.
Finding that sweet spot, matching the potato to the climate, it's like a puzzle.
Yeah.
Speaking of puzzles, let's talk planting. There's got to be more to it than just digging a hole, right?
Yeah.
The article really stressed precision, especially depth and spacing.
It's all about creating the perfect environment. Imagine being crammed into a crowded room, no personal space.
Oh, I'd be stressed out for sure.
Plants are the same way. Too close together, they compete for resources.
Like siblings fighting over the last cookie.
Exactly. And then there's depth. Too shallow, roots don't develop properly. Too deep, they struggle to emerge. The article recommends 3 to 4 inches for that Goldilocks zone.
Not too deep, not too shallow. Gotta love that Goldilocks zone. Okay, so we've planted them right, Given those potatoes their space, now how about a drink?
Irrigation, a big one, especially in a climate as diverse as India's. The article's really pushing a shift from that traditional flood irrigation to more efficient methods, drip irrigation, sprinklers, that kind of thing.
See, now drip irrigation, to me, that always sounded like fancy garden stuff, not something for a whole farm.
It did have that reputation, more expensive up front, but the long-term benefits are changing minds. Imagine instead of flooding the whole field, you're delivering water right to the root of each plant.
Talk about targeted hydration.
Exactly. Less water wasted, which is huge in water-stressed areas. And because it's slow, direct to the root zone, less runoff, less erosion, all those problems you get with flooding the field.
So it's like smarter water use, not just using less. And the article also mentioned this soil moisture monitoring.
Absolutely. It goes hand in hand with that efficient irrigation. Keep a close eye on those moisture levels. You know your potatoes are getting just the right amount.
No more, here's a ton of water, hope you like it approach.
Exactly. Now, once they're happily hydrated, gotta feed those potatoes.
And I'm guessing it's not as simple as dumping fertilizer and hoping for the best. The article mentioned these soil test-based applications and something called split applications.
Right. Remember how we talked about those soil tests being crucial? They're not just for show. They give you a roadmap for fertilizer. Based on that data, farmers can create a custom blend for their soil's needs.
It's like personalized plant nutrition.
Exactly. And split application, that takes the precision even further. Instead of one big dose of fertilizer, which can be wasteful, they divide it into smaller doses throughout the growing season.
Interesting. Why is that more effective?
Think about it. Would you rather eat one massive meal a day or several smaller ones?
Smaller, for sure. Easier to digest.
Plants are the same way. Gradual nutrient supply means better absorption, healthier plants, higher yields.
It's all connected.
Ooh.
Okay, time to address the elephant in the room, maybe a slightly less appealing part of farming pests and diseases.
Those unwelcome visitors can really do a number on a potato field. But the article assures us there are ways to manage them. And it all starts with this idea of integrated pest management.
Yeah, I've heard that term, but to be honest, I'm a little fuzzy on what it actually means for a farmer on the ground.
Integrated pest management, or IPM, it's about working smarter, not harder, when it comes to those pests. Holistic approach combines different strategies to minimize loss, but also minimize pesticide use.
So not about wiping out every last bug, more like keeping things in check.
Exactly. One big part of that is crop rotation. You've probably heard of it, but it's worth repeating how important it is, especially for potatoes.
Keeps those pests guessing. New crop, new environment, they can't get too comfortable.
Precisely. Along with rotation, using resistant potato varieties. These are varieties specifically bred to withstand certain pests or diseases.
So it's like building a stronger potato from the get-go.
Exactly. And then there's biological control, bringing in nature's own pest control, introducing natural predators to keep those pest populations in check.
Fighting nature with nature. I like it. Any examples?
Ladybugs, those are a farmer's best friend. Especially when it comes to aphids, they just gobble them up.
Nature's own pesticide. Now, the article did mention pesticides, but the emphasis was definitely on using them strategically, not just spraying everything in sight.
Exactly. Chemical pesticides, they should be a last resort. Overuse, you get resistance, the pests adapt, and then you've got a bigger problem. Not to mention the impact on the environment, those beneficial insects we want around.
It's about finding that balance, protecting the crop, but not at the expense of everything else. So we've covered a lot here. Soil, seeds, planting, watering, keeping those pests at bay.
Yeah.
What's the final step in our potato journey?
The grand finale, harvesting. And the article was clear. Timing is everything. Miss that window, you're missing out on maximizing yield.
Okay, so how do you know when the time is right? How do you know when to pull those potatoes out of the ground?
The article mentioned something called set skins, which might sound a bit technical,
I was just thinking that doesn't sound very farmer-friendly.
but it's actually quite simple. You gently rub the potato. If the skin is firm, doesn't rub off easily, that's a set skin, means it's mature, ready for harvest.
Like knowing when to pluck a ripe peach, you got to have that perfect feel.
Exactly. Too early, you're losing potential yield. Those potatoes haven't reached their full size. Too late, you risk pests, diseases, bad weather, all sorts of problems.
Timing is key. Now, we've covered a lot of traditional farming techniques, but the article hinted at something really interesting. A technological revolution happening in the potato world. Expert speaker, have you heard of a company called Farminaut?
I have. They're really making waves in the agricultural world, using satellite technology to, well, quite literally, get a bird's eye view of farm management.
Okay, this is where my mind starts to get blown. Satellites, as in the things orbiting the Earth, they can help manage potato farms.
It sounds futuristic, but it's very real. Farminaut uses these satellites, equipped with high-resolution cameras, to take pictures of farmland, including those potato fields.
Okay, but what can you actually see from that far up that's helpful for a farmer down on the ground?
You'd be amazed. Those satellite images, combined with some pretty amazing software, they reveal a goldmine of information about the crops.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, they can detect things like crop stress, nutrient deficiencies, even water stress in those potato plants, all from space.
Hold on. How can you tell a stressed-out potato plant from hundreds of miles away?
It's all about analyzing the light reflected back from the plants. Different wavelengths can tell you different things. Healthy plants, they might reflect more infrared light. Stressed plants, less.
So it's like giving each potato plant a health check, but from space.
Exactly. And the real magic here is early detection. Let's say your potato field is getting too dry, water stressed. By the time you see the plants wilting, the damage is often already done. Yields take a hit.
It's like that saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Precisely. But with Farminaut, that farmer gets an alert before those visible signs even show up. They can adjust their irrigation, maybe give a little extra water to that part of the field, and head off the problem before it impacts their harvest.
It's like having a crystal ball, but for potato farming. But it gets even cooler, right? Didn't you mention something about an AI advisor?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Jeevan AI, it's like having a personal farming guru in your pocket, crunching all that data, the satellite images, weather forecasts, even down to the specific potato variety, and offering tailored advice.
So not just seeing problems, but actually getting advice on what to do about them.
Exactly. Imagine getting a notification like, hey, based on everything we're seeing, maybe hold off on that fertilizer for a week. Let those roots really soak it up.
Proactive potato planning.
And it's not just reacting either. This Jeevan AI can suggest shifting your planting dates based on long-term climate trends, warn you about a potential pest outbreak in your area before it even hits.
Talk about staying one step ahead. So we've gone from literally digging in the dirt to analyzing data from space. Makes you wonder, where does potato farming go from here?
Well, the article did touch on some exciting future trends. Gene editing, that's a big one. Scientists using things like CRISPR to develop these super potatoes, more disease-resistant, higher yields.
Like giving those potatoes little lab coats and clipboards.
Right. Imagine a potato that shrugs off blight, needs less water. Game changers, especially in areas facing drought or those recurring diseases.
Sign me up for that research team. What else is on the horizon?
Vertical farming, that's gaining traction. Picture this. Growing potatoes indoors. Controlled environment, stacked vertically. Year-round production, even in cities or places with tough climates.
Fresh, local potatoes, no matter what Mother Nature throws at you. That's appealing.
Right. And let's not forget the robots. Automation is coming to agriculture in a big way. We're already seeing robots planting, weeding, harvesting.
Hold on, robot farmers. Is this a sci-fi movie?
It's closer than you think, and this is just the beginning. That automation, it means more efficiency, lower labor costs, which is huge as some places struggle to find enough farm workers.
The future is happening, one potato at a time.
And it's not just the hardware. Remember Jeevan AI? That kind of AI, that's just a taste of what's possible.
There's more. Even smarter than a digital farming assistant.
Imagine AI that analyzes mountains of data, soil, weather, even market trends. Predicts the ideal planting times, customizes fertilizer, blends down to the individual plant.
Wait, predicting the market too, that's next level.
It's about empowering farmers with information, helping them make those smart decisions, maximize what they're growing, and ultimately put more food on the table for everyone.
So we've covered it all, from the tiniest soil microbes to satellites orbiting the Earth. Proof that potato farming is anything but simple and the future is ripe with possibilities.
It really is amazing to see how traditional farming knowledge and cutting-edge tech are coming together. For a crop as important as the potato, these advancements can't come soon enough.
Couldn't agree more. Expert speaker, thank you so much for digging into this with me. It's been fascinating.
My pleasure. Always a good time talking spuds.
And to all our listeners, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of potato potential. Who knew there was so much to learn about maximizing those yields? It's a good reminder that innovation is happening everywhere, even in the humblest potato field. So next time you're enjoying a plate of fries or a baked potato, take a moment to appreciate the journey from the soil to your plate. And who knows, maybe one day those potatoes will have been tended by robots and AI, guided by the very innovations we've talked about today. Until next time, keep those potatoes growing and those minds curious.